Good evening. All right then. Here we go. Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Revolution Tier 3, Season 13. It's time for round 12 of the season. 4 races remain in this champion, and it's time for the Hungarian Grand Prix, a track notoriously known for not being very easy to overtake at, and, well, has the nickname Monaco without the barrier, so will we see the same tonight with a lot of DRS trains? Who knows, but with four races remaining in the championship, it is Alpha High Wall to win. He leads the championship by 63 points over Harry, who is not racing tonight, meaning that if Alpha High Wall drives the perfect race weekend, getting a win, pole position and fastest lap, it would be enough for him to take that championship crown, and Jesus must not finish on the podium. So it's a lot to ask. It's not going to be easy for him, but it's still mathematically possible for him to win tonight. But if he doesn't, then I'm sure he will win next week. Welcome everyone to the stream. Excited to be out here again. 16 drivers tonight, hopefully will be 17 if Sean joins, but at the moment we are not sure. But in their Constructors' Championship, it's much closer than the drivers, because Alpine last week has taken the lead again over Kick Sauber, and the deficit between Sauber and Alpine is just 1 point. And Haas is only 21 points behind, Williams is only 28 points behind, and then V-Carb and P5 are over 50 points behind. So a bit of a four-way fight right now, but still a lot of teams who can potentially come back and take that crown with 4 races remaining. Still a lot of points on the board, so you never know. But we arrive here at the Hungarian circuit, the Hungaroring, and Nexus is the first to be out on track. Made an appearance yesterday in Tier 1 as well, but unfortunately retired after getting himself a puncture during his first stint. So hopefully he's learned something from that and will manage his stars a little bit better later on in the race. He's out there in the Sauber, first one out on track, navigating his way through the middle sector. Currently through turns 10 and what will be 11. The only Sauber tonight, so he needs to score some good points because they're still Alpines. And given Sauber's only 1 point behind, he needs every point he can get in that Constructors' Championship fight. But we know Alpha High Wall is strong. He always has been strong this season, and for sure he is going to be one to watch in qualifying and in the race as well. Nexus starts his first flying lap, making his way down the start-finish straight and in towards turn 1. Also turning very early here, get a good exit. Only the second DRS zone. Only 2 DRS zones are out here. And then towards turn 2. Turning very early in again and getting very early on throttle. A bit of a mump on the exit though. Slight snap of oversteer and then flat out for the kink of turn 3. Now turn 4 used to be quite tricky with the curb on the inside, but it's a bit more lenient on this year's game. Now through turn 5 have to be careful with that curb still on the inside or it can catch you out. Now through the chicane of turn 6 and 7. Very easy to invalidate, very easy to hit the curbs at a wrong angle. But Nexus so far has made it through cleanly through turns 8 and 9 as well, keeping it within the track limits, flat out through turn 10. And turn 11 could be taken flat out, but I think it's a bit of a lift off right now for Nexus. And down into the braking zone of turn 12. And only 2 corners remain, 2 very identical corners. Long left-hander and then a long right-hander to end the lap, where you need to maximize the exit, because it's going to be the run towards that line, towards the finish line. Bit of a moment on the exit as well, and it's going to be a 1:16.247, and that is going to be the time to beat for now in qualifying right behind Lennon's starts his first flying lap. But there's a lot of drivers out there on the laps. Terry is going faster in the first sector. And Red Bull coming out of the final corner. That is Arbon starting his flying lap. As Kai goes quickest, 15.7, and that's half a second quicker than Nexus has managed. Next up to cross the line is going to be Blitz Hyper in the Williams, and he goes with a 16.3, and that is right behind the Kick Sauber driver. What about Aaron in the Aston Martin? Only a 16.4. Shark makes it a Mercedes front row, and so far the only other besides his teammate to go into the 115s, probably in P3 in the McLaren. Next up is the Ferrari of Jaden, who goes up to P7 with a 117.9. And then Tusterry at 21.1, so he must have backed off on this lap. What about Panda, who got promoted last week, made his first race appearance in Tier 3. He goes P6 with a 16.3, few thousandths of a second behind Blitz Hyper. Then it's out of the final corner, 16.3 in P5 behind Nexus. What about Arbon as he comes around that final corner on his first outing in the Red Bull? It's going to be a 116.2, which puts him at the moment on the second row. Mahmoudov just starting his first flying lap, a man we've seen being on pole position before this season. Question is he going to be able to replicate that? He is, I think, the only V-Carb tonight, as unfortunately Wardy not racing, and no replacement could be found. I say that because Mahmoudov has reserved himself as well. The other V-Carb is driven by Sean, who we don't know if he's going to be racing. Big moment there, out of turn 5. So you can just see, it's the inside curb through turn 6. It just unsettles the rear end and has to correct it, which loses so much time every single time through that chicane. Coming out of turn 11 and in towards the final sector. Game says he is going purple. We'll never know. Well, we will know in a few moments time if he crosses the line and goes faster than a 15.7. Still, Kai is at the top of the field with his teammate alongside him. Mahmoudov crosses the line, 16.2, puts him in P6. So only 2 drivers so far have managed a 15, and it's the 2 Mercedes drivers. Mercedes quite low in the Tier 3 championship. I say quite low, they're last in the Constructors Championship on 67 points. The next closest team is Ferrari in P9 with 85. So Mercedes really can use a good result tonight. Also quite low in the combined Constructors Championship. So if they can potentially get a win tonight, then that will boost them up nicely in both Tier 3 and the combined. Dondech making his return. It's been a while since he's been on track. The last time I remember, I think, was back in Australia, which was the second round of the season, if I remember correctly. Actually, the opening round, he won that race, Dondech, and after that, I don't think he has raced in Tier 3. Actually, he has in Singapore. He made an appearance and finished in P9. But I think that is about it this season. I'll check the other races as well, but I don't remember him racing recently. So 2 races he's done this season, but good to see him back here as well in the Red Bull. Let's hope he can get a good result again. Jesus and Alpha High Wall for this race, the main drivers in the championship, with Harry being absent. And Jesus just starting his flying lap going towards turn 1. And Alpha High Ball now making his way down the start-finish straight. Let's see if he's going to be able to put himself alongside those Mercedes drivers. If he can manage a 115 on his first outing. I'm fairly certain that Jesus will not be able to do that. So we know he's usually not as strong in qualifying as he is in the race. And for this race, it is going to make things quite difficult for him, because Hungary you cannot really easily overtake. So if he's going to be starting towards the back of the grid, it is going to be difficult for him to score good points. But you never know. Jesus always finds a way to put himself up there when it comes to the race. Always goes for the different strategy as well. As he rounds the penultimate corner. And just the final corner remaining. As he comes out of the final corner, the two-time Tier 3 World Champion sets a 1:16.3 for his first lap time, puts him inside the top 10 in P7. But what about Alpha Hype Wall, our championship leader? He's going to cross the line for a 1:15.499. What a lap from Alpha Hype Wall. Immediately 0.2 of a second quicker than anyone else currently out on track. Brilliant lap for our championship leader and exactly what he needs tonight. Malaboton in the Aston Martin, unfortunately, will not be able to do a lap time. He's got a qualifying ban after an incident last week. So he's going to be starting down in P16. The man we've seen put it on pole position, I think, twice this season. The other Alpine of Panda on another lap towards the first sector, unable to find an improvement, but it is quite marginal because he is 75,000th of a second off his personal best. Just crossing the line is Lennon's. He goes P5, 7,000th of a second ahead of Arbon, but Arbon himself is on a great improvement, almost 0.4 of a second up through the first sector. Let's see if he finds more time through the middle part of the lap. Bit of a moment there though. Shark improves to a 15.6. Arbon finds 0.6 of a second in the middle sector. He is going to be up there with the likes of Shark and Kai if he nails the final sector. Just one corner remaining, and for sure it's going to be at least a second row for our Panda up to P4 with a 16.1. And here comes Arbon to the front row, 15.5, and he misses out by a few hundredths of a second. But the Red Bull driver finds himself alongside our championship leader right now. Tuasteri improves to P5, also into the 1:15s, becomes the 5th driver to do so far in this qualifying session, and Panda is the first one in the 1:16s. But a great performance from him so far for a former Tier 5 driver. Was it actually Tier 6? I'm not too sure. I know he's made appearances in more than one tier. Could be Tier 5 because it is the last race of the week on Friday, which I might be commentating on as well tomorrow. In the meantime, Mahmudev is on another lap. I think he went purple in the middle sector, so he must have found some improvement. But is it going to be good enough to lift him any higher than P10 right now? If he just finds a 10th of a second, he will be P6. Let's see what he can do as he crosses the line. A 15.6 finds way more than a 10th of a second, 0.6 in fact. And that puts his V-Garb on the second row, just ahead of Shark and Kai, who were for a moment on the front row, but currently they're down to P4 and P5 as they both enter the pit lane. So there's work left to do for the Mercedes team. Blitz Hyper in the Williams, currently down on P12, just behind his teammate. But not for much longer, because he is up by over 0.3 of a second through the middle sector. And that could potentially boost him all the way up to P7 and maybe even inside the top 6. If he has a good final sector, let's see. As he crosses the line, it's going to be a 1:16.0, just behind Tuasteri, but ahead of Panda and in P7. Good position to score some good points tonight. Donlech still in P5, unable to improve right now from his 22.8. As Jaden has unfortunately invalidated, so he's not going to be able to improve from his 1:17. There's just under 5 minutes to go in qualifying, and that's flown by around the Hungary ring. But this is going to be Alpha Hype Wall taking a second consecutive pole position. Last week at Qatar, he turned it into a race win. And the Austrian and Canadian Grand Prix, he won those races back to back, also from pole position. So far this season, he has turned all his pole positions into race wins. And he hasn't won from any other position. So as Dondage improves to a 16-1, put himself inside the top 10. If Alpha High Wall starts from pole position, there is a very high chance of him winning his 4th race of the season. And if he picks up the fastest lap as well during the race, then he very well could be crowning himself world champion. Just needs to have Jesus not finishing on the podium, which at the moment is not looking very likely with him down P13. Because he is going to have to overtake a lot of drivers during the race around the track that is so narrow. Just like the start of the session, Nexus is the first one out on track, preparing for his final run. And following him is Arbon in the Red Bull, looking for his first, I think, front row start of the season, and first pole position it will be as well, if he's going to be able to go quicker than Alpha High Wall. But it's not going to be easy to improve from such a time. Nexus is going for a second warm-up lap. Wants to get the optimum tire temperature for his final flying lap. It's very close right now, because after Twoosh Terry, it's only 2/3 of a second towards Nexus in P12. And especially between Blitz Hyper and Nexus, it is just over 2/10 of a second, and if he can find that, he would be well inside the top 10. As Arbon is going to be the first one to start his final flying lap, or is he? No, he's not. He is going for another warm-up lap as well, just like Nexus, to go for the ultimate preparation. So Nexus will still be the first driver to start his final flying lap with just under 2 minutes to go in this session. Still a few drivers in pit lane. I do wonder if they're going to be able to go out. Panda and, well, Waterboten is not going out, but Panda is still out in P8. I think he's going out just now with 1.5 minutes to go, leaving it very late in qualifying. But Nexus starts his final flying lap in the Kick Sauber, down into the braking zone of turn 1. Not very close to the apex, but seems to be a decent exit. And now down into the braking zone of turn 2, fully on the outside curb. On the braking, once again a bit of a moment mid-corner, a bit of a snap, which has caused him to lose maybe a few hundredths of a second. Let's see if he found some time in his first sector. Yes, he has. 84 thousandths of a second to be precise. If he finds that in the second and third sector as well, he could be up there in P7. Now through that chicane, seems clean from the Kick Sauber. Hasn't lost too much time. Definitely a way cleaner middle part of the lap, it seems. Let's see if the time shows that as well. Yes, it does. Over almost 0.3 of a second. Improvement for Nexus now towards that final chicane. Bit of a moment once again on the exit of turn 12. Out of 13 and into 14. Full throttle towards the line. Use everything of the battery he's got. And P12 becomes P6. 15.7. Great lap. Great improvement from Nexus, as Mahmoudov improves his time, but he misses out by 39 thousandths of a second towards Alpha High Wall, who himself is on a 2/10 lap, 2/10 improvement as he crosses the line in a moment time. Kai goes quick as 15.3. Well, Alpha High Wall, he misses out by in the final sector. What has happened to the Alpine? He was up by almost 2/10 of a second going into the final sector, but he must have made some sort of mistake, because in the end he did not even improve his time. And it's going to be Kai at the moment at the front of the field with Alpha Ball in P2. Shark improves to P3. Tusteri in P6. Jesus up to P8 inside the top 10. Next up is going to be Arbon in the Aston Martin. He goes P9. And then we look at Arbon, who hasn't found some time in the middle sector. Can he find some time in the final sector? Only a few hundreds would be enough to get him onto the second row. And he goes to the front row, 15-4. And it's P2 for Arbon, only behind Kai in the Mercedes, who seems to have got pole position. I don't think there's anyone out there who can deny him that, as Blitz Hybrid improves to P6 with a great lap from him. Next up is Dondech in the Red Bull, up to P9 inside the top 10. And then we wait just for Panda and Froby down in P13 and 14. They are the final drivers to cross the line. Panda in the Alpine. Can he put it inside the top 10 to help his teammate out? No, he can't. He unfortunately doesn't improve his position. Froby does, and he goes to P12 just ahead of his teammate Lennons. But it's Kai on pole position around the Hungaroring by just over a tenth of a second towards Arbon in the Red Bull. He is on the front row for the first time this season. Great performance from both of these drivers, and a championship leader Alpha Hypol will start this race from P3. And Shark in the other Mercedes in P4, so it's a great result for the Mercedes team in qualifying, and that sets them up nicely for a potential good result in the race. And good point there by Arbon in the chat. This also means that Alpha Hypol will not win the championship tonight, because he needed all 27 points. And right now he can only get 26, as the pole position point has been taken away by Kai in the Mercedes. Mahmoud Blitz Hyper to Sterry Nexus, Dondech and Jesus round the top 10. So Jesus finds himself starting inside the top 10. It's absolutely biblical scenes here at the Hungaroring. Something you rarely ever see in Tier 3. Jesus starting inside the top 10. But he still needs to find quite a few overtakes to get himself up there with the likes of Alpha Hypol. Now, strategy-wise, it should be a one-stop, but tire wear is quite high, and I wouldn't be surprised if there is going to be some drivers who have to take the two-stop. But normally, I think actually both strategies work around here, because I've done a race a few weeks ago around here, and I think I did the one-stop, and there were others around who did the two-stop, and I think they in the end it was quite close. So you can pull off both strategies, but of course it does depend on clean air and the traffic around you. So I think generally the way to go is going to be the one stop. But if there are some drivers who is at the back of the grid, has nothing to lose, they can potentially go for the two stop and hope for the best. So we'll see who's going to make it work. It does require some good tire management though. So Nexus, you know what to do. Do not get yourself a puncture this time. Starts in P8. Can definitely not afford to lose a lot of points to Alpine. In a few moments time, we are going to get this race on the way. And what I'm seeing now, Alpha Hypewall choosing the hard tire to start on. And so does Jesus, but that's no surprise because he's done that over the past few races. Also Aaron in the Aston Martin and Lance in the McLaren. The rest of them seem to be starting on the medium compound tire. So a bit of a difference in strategies. We'll see how it's going to play out for them. Championship will not be wrapped up this week, but we still got 4 races to fight for. And tonight it is going to be the Hungarian Grand Prix. Who is going to take the trophy home? And what is Alpha Hypewall going to be able to do? Not starting from pole position. Statistically speaking, he will not win tonight. But is he the man to break that curse? We are going to find out very, very soon, as the Hungarian Grand Prix is about to start. Round 12 of the Tier 3 season in Revolution. The 5 lights are on. It is Kai on pole position with Arbel alongside. And we're off for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Twitchy from the start for the Red Bull, but Kai seems to have maintained the lead going towards turn 1. He is ahead of Red Bull into the braking zone. Shark having half a look at the inside of Arbon as we brake towards turn 1. Almost 3 abreast there as Shark is making contact. And on the exit it's Alpha Hypewall gaining the position. He's up into P2, whilst Blitz Hyper is looking to find a way past Shark into the braking zone of turn 2. On the inside, the Mercedes on the outside, that is Nexus going wide in the background, losing all sorts of positions and making contact as well with Panda. But it seems like Blitz Hyper's got past Shark now, has dropped down to P5, just ahead of Amudev. Then Dondech in P6, Nexus in P7, Nexus in P8. Then Panda in P9, and Jesus has remained in 10th place, just ahead of Lennons, as Jin in the background fighting it out with Frobby. Tusteris dropped down to P15. And it is Aaron who has had the worst start of all of them. He finds himself down in P16 with front wing damage and 3 seconds off the rest of the field. But at the front, it is Kai who has maintained his lead, now ahead of our championship leader Alpha Hypewall. Arbon following closely, 0.5 of a second behind. Blitz Hyper 0.7 of a second behind him. And it's all going to be about staying in that DRS train. After the opening lap, most positions gained are for Panda in the Alpine. 5 positions from the start, P14 up to P9. And Balaboten from his 16th place starting position, he has gained 4 positions as well, up to P12. And looking to find a way past Lennons, going into the braking zone of turn 1 of the inside. Bit of contact, oh, as the back end stepping out. The rear tires locking up. And he makes contact with Lennons, but he does get the position regardless. But a bit of a controversial move there, as he finds a way past Lennons, who, starting on the hards, will be struggling in the opening stages of this race. And Balaboten on the medium naturally will be the faster driver right now. Up ahead of him is another driver on the hards, that is Jesus, who has maintained position. And then Dondech in P7 and Shark in P5, all on the hards. That's why Shark probably lost out towards Blitz Hyper, because he would be struggling with the traction a little bit on these harder compound tires. .3 of a second separate Kai and Alpha Hypewall. DRS has been enabled on this lap, but is there anything Alpha Hypewall can do? Because 0.4 of a second, will it be close enough? He has to use the entire battery to get close, but doesn't look like he is going to be close enough. Has half a look at the inside towards turn 1, bit of a scent, but he's not going to go for it. Only looking to the inside, but Kai as a result goes quite wide, but still is able to maintain position in front of our championship leader. Arbon is very close behind as well, looking to find the gap. At Alpha Hypewall closing that door. Blitz Hyper in a very strong P4 position. Shark holding on to this train, 0.5 of a second behind. Dondech struggling to do the same, as it's threatening for him to fall out of that 1 second window towards Mahmoud. A bit of a moment there for Nexus coming out of turn 5. But he's got a much better run through the chicane. And look how much Dondech has lost there. 1.4 seconds. Lost almost 0.5 of a second through the turn 6-7 chicane. And now he has definitely fallen out of that DRS range. And he's going to be starting the second group of cars, because the top 6 will be running away from him. And Balaboton going for the move there on Jesus through the penultimate corner. Not really a place you normally see Novtek, and Kai has left the session. Our race leader, as he disconnected, I wonder, I'm gonna invite him back as soon as possible. That is horrible luck for our race leader, who of course has dropped down now, as Alpha Highball inherits that lead. And Kai of course will be dropping behind as well. Arbon is going to be going through, literally, the Mercedes driver to take second place. But what horrible luck there for Kai, who got his pole position and then gets disconnected on lap 4. And luckily he's rejoined very quickly, but the damage has been done. And what has happened to Balaboton? He has spun coming out of turn 4. Did he hit the inside curb? Did he try to go for the move with someone and hit their side pod? I'm not quite sure. But that is the second Aston Martin having trouble in this race. He's down to P15. But I don't think he's got front wing damage. But he's lost a lot of time and a lot of positions. Kai down to P4. But most importantly, he is still in this DRS train. Currently ahead of his teammate. I do wonder when he's going to be able to take control over his Mercedes again. Looks like right now just ahead of Shark there. So very unlucky with the disconnect, but lucky enough to still be in this leading train. In the background, Nexus getting very defensive out of the final corner, but he's unable to hold Dondech behind as we go towards turn 1. The Red Bull driver goes through, and the Kicksauber loses the position, and potentially 2 as Panda gets close to the back of the Kicksauber. And Nexus very aggressive there, sending one to the inside, but he is realizing that there is no space there. And luckily he backed off Panda now, having half a look around the outside of the Kicksauber, but unable to make that move. Kai is on a mission to gain those positions back. He's currently looking at the back of the Williams of Blitz Hyper, who is running in a podium position for the first time this season, I believe. Blitz Hyper P12 in the championship. I don't think he's been on the podium so far. Of course, tier 5 driver as well. So racing in 2 different tiers. Williams in tier 3 and Kicksauber in tier 5, where he is fighting for the championship. Making the move in towards turn 1, Nexus trying to get that position back, but a big moment on the exit of turn 1, and he's going into the grass, and now will be under pressure from both Jesus and Panda. And Jesus running out of road there. The Alpine tries to go the long around the outside, but he eventually finds the grass as well there. Unable to make the move now. Jesus is going to have a go round the outside towards turn 4. Sure enough, we're going to go wheels, but there's contact, and round goes Panda. And you could have seen that coming. It's going wheel to wheel through that corner. Normally does not end well. And this case is no different. Panda down to P12. And lost a lot of time, but unfortunately for him, no damage done to his car. Bit of an optimistic move from Jesus, who is now up into P9. And I say Blitz Hyper has been on the podium, but in fact he's won a race so far this season. He in Shanghai, I didn't remember because I wasn't there for that race, because I think that's the race that I was at the Hungarian Grand Prix in real life. As we see Jesus getting past Nexus on the main straight. So Blitz Hyper, winner this season. But ever since, only got 7 more points. Sits 12th in the championship on 32. Look at this train, the top 6. And Don Ledge in P7, he is 3.5 seconds behind. And I must say, Shark is in a good position as Nexus picks up a 3-second time penalty. Because Shark is on the hards, his tires will become better than the tires of the cars ahead of him. Another penalty there as well now from Tuusteri as Kai runs a bit wide out of turn 9. But Shark will be able to continue on longer. Will lose out these positions, but potentially will still come out in P6, and then he's going to have the mediums towards the end, and he will be able to fight on much fresher and much better tires. So Shark might be a bit of an underdog for the race win tonight, or at least the podium, which would be his 2nd of the season. And Jesus is on the charts, he's found a way past Don Ledge now, and now he's up in the clean air. But the gap is 3.5 seconds towards the top 6. Let's see if he's going to be able to close that gap. In the background, Nexus and Lennon's going wheel to enter the braking zone off turn to the McLaren on the inside. The Kickstarter trying to hold it around the outside. But the McLaren is going to have the better tires on the hards, and Nexus is struggling. And he drops the position down to P10. And the other McLaren close behind as well, looking to take another position. Alpha High Wall still our race leader. Could get the 25 points tonight, but that will not be enough to take the championship crown tonight. But I'm sure he will be taking it next week at Suzuka. As we go on to lap 8, and we will start to near the pit window for the mediums, although lap 9 is very early for Mahmudev. You normally want to continue on till lap 12, 13, 14 on these mediums. So that could indicate that Mahmudev is opting for the 2-stop strategy. Putting on the hards. And Tuusteri into the pit lane as well. And will presumably do the same thing. Yes, he will. Mahmudev comes out of the pit lane, but he is in clean air. He's got 6 seconds towards Jaden up ahead, who was on those mediums since the beginning of this race. Fastest lap of race for Aaron, 18.9. He has pitted 2 laps ago. He definitely is on a 2-stop. Because he's not going to be able to take these mediums towards the end of the race. Alpha High Wall starting to lose some time towards the cars behind him. Arbon is getting very close to the back of the Alpine. But you need to be within 3/4 of a second to really have a go. And it's a bit of a moment there for Arbon once again coming out of the final corner. Look how close the Williams is to the back of the Red Bull. Blitz Hyper is going to try and have a go at Arbon. Down the start finish straight we go. The Williams is going to pull to the inside as we go towards turn 1. Later on the brakes, Blitz Hyper is going to be able to make that work. Bit of contact on the entry. And Arbon keeping it around the outside, elbows out. Oh, and into the wall goes Blitz Hyper. What the hell happened there? As that is a really strange moment. And I didn't catch that, unfortunately, but the Williams straight into the wall out of turn 1. Did he lose it on traction? Did he make contact? But he for sure is out of contention for any good result tonight. There's left a little bit of a gap between Alpha High Wall and Arbon. It's still 8/10 of a second though, so as long as he stays within the DRS range, he will still be in the fight for the race lead. Alpha Eyeball, he is pushing though to get the Red Bull out of DRS range. But it looks like Arbon is doing just enough to stay within that 1 second window. And it looks like Alpha Eyeball is starting to struggle as well on these tires. On to lap 11 of 35. The top 3 on the mediums. And then other drivers behind on the hards. Shark and P4 still in that train. Jesus is now 2 point. Jesus actually is in the train already. Jesus has closed the gap completely towards the top 5. And now finds himself inside the top 5. And with a good shot of getting a podium result. Then it's Dondech and the 2 McLarens. 6, 7 and 8. So into the pit lane comes Blitz Hyper. Gonna have to repair that front wing. Losing a lot of time, and out he goes on the hards. Rejoining in 16th place. Who of these drivers is going to pull into the pit lane first? Who's going to be able to continue the longest on these mediums? They're still staying out. Going on to lap 12. Wanting to extend as long as possible. Shark and Jesus follow. Dondech starting to close the gap a little bit, now 2.3. Now it's Panda up next to pull into the pit lane of the Alpine. Mahmoudev getting past Balaboton is pulling into the pit lane as well. Mahmoudev is in clean air. And I'm sure he's going to be able to jump the entire top 5 with this strategy. But he is going for the 2-stop as the 2 Mercedes fight it out. And Shark getting past Kai. Seems like a little bit of, I wouldn't say a team order, but a strategic decision by the 2 Mercedes drivers to swap position. As Shark now on the better tires. Trying to chase after the 2 race leaders. Is that rain? It is rain on the lens. So it's raining around Hungary, and that is why they are all staying out. But the rain is starting to fall around the Hungaro ring, and this is gonna change everything in this race. The top 3 is deciding to stay out, so does Kai, Jesus and Dondech are all gonna be staying out because they want to switch to intermediates immediately. But this is gonna change absolutely everything in this race, as Jesus is gonna have a go at Kai towards turn 1 on the better tires on the inside, late from the brakes. And the Williams is up at the P4. As Kai dropping another position, and he is starting to struggle on those mediums. Up ahead, Arbon and Shark going at it towards turn 2. The Red Bull is still on the outside though. It's going to have the inside line for the next turn, but it looks like Shark has got the better pace there. The better grip on those hards, and he goes sailing around the outside. Great move. And he finds himself now in 2nd place and chasing after race leader Alpha Eyeball. These are very tricky conditions because it's a track that is getting slipperier and slipperier, and these tires are getting worse and worse. And look how close Jesus is able to look how quickly he's able to close the gap towards Arbon on these hards. Arbon is the first one to pull into the pit lane to go onto the intermediates, and I have a feeling that these medium runners are going to follow very, very soon. Dondech has fully closed the gap as well. Look, he's just blasting around the outside there of Kai. As the Mercedes for Shark is almost sideways going out of the penultimate corner. But he is close to the back of Alpha Eyeball. And he still has the DRS. He's 0.2 of a second behind. And Shark is going to go for the lead of this race. Alpha Eyeball defends the inside line, but Shark is going to go the long way around the outside in toward turn 1. The Alpine still there on the inside. There's contact between our two race leaders. Alpha Eyeball and Shark come together through turn 1. Alpha Eyeball on the exit is still alongside, but Shark is going to have the inside line. for turn 2 later on the brakes, and Shark takes the lead of this race as Alpha Highball eventually has to cede that position, and Shark now leads the Hungarian Grand Prix. And Jesus in the podium position, he has got past Arbon, who drops down to P5 behind Dondech as well in the Red Bull. It seems like intermediates not quite the tire you want to be on, as Kai has now switched to the Inters as well. And let's see if he's closing the gap or not, if he's still struggling on these tires, or if he is rapidly gaining on Mahmudov just ahead. Gap seems to stay around the same, so it might not be the crossover point just yet, and it might be a little bit too early, but Kai was struggling too much on those mediums. He really couldn't do another lap on those worn out tires. Alpha Highball, can he go for another lap? He is gonna have to. He decides to stay out. Arbon does not. He's going into the pit lane, but almost hits the pit lane wall there. On entry, into the pit lane comes the Red Bull. Look how slippery it is there. As he slows down, Mahmudov now ahead. And Kai would probably be ahead of the Red Bull as well. Now onto the intermediates. And there's still quite a few drivers staying out on the hards. Kai gets ahead of Arbon as we go towards turn 1. Panda will also be ahead, but I have a feeling that the intermediates will start to become the better tire. The gap is 13 seconds between Kai and Mahmudov, but now it's 12.7. 310 to gain through one corner. It seems like this is the crossover point. The Inters start to become the better tire. DRS has been disabled. That is usually a sign that Inters are quicker. So Arbon might have timed that to perfection as he runs out wide. Panda up ahead does the same thing. He is struggling on the hards, and Arbon is getting held up a little bit there by the Alpine. Let's check in with the guys at the front. Shark and Jesus now. Alpha Highball down to P3. Really struggling on these mediums. 2 seconds. He is behind the Williams, going way too deep there into turn 12. And for sure he is going to be putting into the pit lane at the end of this lap. Just holding up that train behind with Lennons and Frobby joining in as well. They're all putting into the pit lane. Shark, Jesus, Alpha Highball, Dondech, Lennons, Frobby, Mahmudov. The entire top 7 into the pit lane, going on to lap 16. Let's hope they all keep it under the speed limit. Looks like they have. Actually, Frobby is continuing on because he doesn't want to double stack. So Frobby now finds himself in the lead of this race as we near the halfway point. What about Kai? Kai is ahead of all of them. And what about Arbon? He is going to be ahead of all of them as well. Both Kai and Arbon with a master strategy around Hungary. And Kai, who disconnected earlier on in this race, finds himself in a net race leading position by 4 seconds towards Arbon, who is a further 3 seconds ahead of Shark. Then it's Panda, then it's Jesus behind the Alpine, who's still out there on those hards. He will want to get by as quickly as possible because he cannot afford to lose so much time when he's in the fight for a podium or the potential race win. Alpha Highball sees his teammate holding up the Williams, but around the outside he tries to go, and eventually he's going to be able to do that. And now Alpha Highball gets by with ease as Panda gets into the way, and that is the Red Bull of Don. Is way too late on the brakes and almost has to cut across there, but he took the risk to go across, and now it's Lennons up the inside of the Red Bull. Lennons and Dondech, the two protagonists of the Australian Grand Prix, fighting it out, and Lennons goes around the outside and he gets past and is up into 7th place. His teammate at the front end, of course, losing time on those hards. Kai has got past, and without a doubt he's going to be pulling into the pit lane, and he does. Frobby at the end of lap 16, look how much he is struggling on these slicks. Just no grip at all anymore. On to lap 17 of 35, nearing the halfway point of this race, and it's Kai and Arbon out on track in 1st and 2nd, and it's Shark who's lost a little bit more time towards Arbon as well. Then Jesus 1.8 behind Alpha Highball in P5. And importantly, Alpha Highball is behind Jesus his closest championship rival. Then Lennon's in P6, Dondaj in P7, Mahmudev in 8, then Frobik rejoins in P9, but look how much time he's lost. He wasn't close to his teammate before they both pitted, and now he's 10 seconds behind by staying out one more lap. Not sure what Husteri is hoping for right now. He's still out there on these hards, and clearly it's not the tire to be on at this stage. We're down in P12, losing a lot of time and a lot of positions. Albon, he is on a mission. Look how much he is closing the gap. It was 2.5 at the beginning of this lap. Make that 1.2 at the end of the lap. He is looking absolutely rapid. And he is chasing Kai for the lead of this race. And the gap has grown by a second as well towards Shark in the Mercedes. 6 seconds now as Albon gets within, I was going to say DRS range, but of course DRS has been disabled. But Albon is within striking distance. Alpha High Wall close to Jesus. Lennon's close to Alpha High Wall as the trio make their way towards turn 1. Husteri still struggling on these hards, and eventually he is going to be pulling into the pit lane, realizing this is not the tire to be on, this strategy is not going to work. And the Haas driver into the pit lane in last place, unfortunately down on P16. And well, no surprise that he has retired from this race. Becomes our first retirement. And we're down to 15. That is Bella Boton getting past Jaden, and the Aston Martin is inside the top 10 from last on the grid. Few drivers were hoping for rain in this race. One of them was Lennon's, and look where he is, in P6. He has had such terrible luck over the last couple of races, as he is going to send one up the inside of Alpha High Wall into the penultimate corner. There's contact between the two of them. Bit of an optimistic send there for the McLaren, but you have to look for opportunities around a track like this where you can already overtake, but this one has not worked out. But our former championship leader, currently in P6, dropped all the way down to 7th in the championship. He absolutely needs a good result again. And it seems like Shark is struggling in these conditions, because the gap towards Jesus is down to 6 tenths and the gap towards the top 2 is over 7 seconds. Albon still chasing Kai for the lead of this race, but the closer he gets, the more dirty air will get, and the harder it will be to close the gap further to potentially have a go at our race leader. "16 laps to go after this one. Now 0.2 of a second. He has been closer than ever before in this race. But he needs to have a magical run out of the final corner to really have a go at the Mercedes. Almost sideways going towards the final corner. This is his best opportunity so far in this race. Albon 0.2, 0.3 of a second behind. But it's going to be a massive lunge in towards turn 1. And not one he is able to perform right now. But keeps putting the pressure on. Kai in the lead of this race. Trying to force an error. As Lennon's once again up the inside of Alpha Wall, and this time looks like he's got the move completed. And he does. And Lennon's now up at the P5. And next up is going to be Jesus. As Shark is losing almost a full second a lap towards the top 2. Who are absolutely in a league of their own in this race. But the question is, are they going to be able to keep the tires alive to the end of the race. Because they basically have to do more than half a race on intermediates. So tire management is going to be important as well. Once again, Albon is very close to the side there of Kai, almost going wheel to wheel. Going into the final corner, look how close he is. Now on the exit, can he get a good run enough to put his Red Bull alongside the Mercedes? Look how close, almost pushing the Mercedes through the final corner onto lap 21 of 35. And the Red Bull is going to try and go for the move. Kai defends the inside. Albon is going to try and go long around the outside in towards turn 1 later on the brakes. And Kai successfully defends, but on the exit, Albon getting almost forced off track there by the Mercedes, and he's going to have to seat position and stay behind the Mercedes as Kai is getting his elbows out for the lead of this race. What a fight we will be witnessing for the final 15 laps of this race. Shark now though is 7 seconds behind, so he's gained some time again as the race leaders fight it out. Now 6.9 as the Mercedes was struggling earlier on in this stint, but seems to have got some pace again. But look at the train that's forming behind him. Jesus, Lennon's R5 wall, then Dondech and Mahmoudov all the way down to P8 in this train behind the Mercedes, the second Mercedes. The other one is still in the lead of this race and under massive pressure from Albon once again. Getting close to the back end, once again 0.2 of a second, less than that, once again in the slipstream as we go towards turn 1. Yellow flags are out. This Nexus having trouble in the kick Sauber's got thumping damage. Now on the exit, Albon has a better run, but is it going to be good enough with the traction zone? Not quite, it seems. Now it's going to send one to the inside, potentially in towards turn 2. There's contact between the two, slight contact. As on the exit, Kai has got the outside line and maintains position. But what a fight so far between these two. Albon desperately fighting for this position. He knows that he needs a good result. He needs this win more than anyone else. And he is fighting for it. Lennon's very close to the back of Jesus, but into the chicane you don't really want to overtake, as Nexus unfortunately has retired from this race. And that becomes our second retirement. Has it stopped raining? Actually, I don't think it's still raining out on track. So this could be a very interesting situation with the weather. Because if it is dry now again, as Dondach has gone off in turn 8 or turn 9. What has happened to the Red Bull? Did he spin on his own? Or did he get help from Mahmoudov? But the second Red Bull is around and down to P8. Only loses one position. But he's lost a lot of time, 9 seconds now behind Mahmoudov. And that is very unfortunate news for Dondech in this race. But like I was saying, it looks like it is dry again. So we might be going back towards slick conditions. And if that is the case, DRS will be activated again. Let's look how close he is once again. Dondech and Bottom both into pit lane already. On to lap 23. Are they going to risk it to go to the slicks? Jesus has left the session. That is bad news. I'll invite him back. So looks like we've got quite a few disconnections in this race. As mediums will go on the Red Bull, the Aston Martin, the other Aston Martin as well, and Jaden. Let's see then. Are mediums quick enough? Jesus drops down to P5. That is no surprise. He will probably do to Alpha Bull and Mahmoudov as well as he rejoins. But let's see how quick the Red Bull is right now in these conditions. He is going to be on cold tires, of course. So I want to focus back on the fight at the front because they are very close once again to each other. Kai and Arbon. Just not quite close enough though. This track is notoriously known for being impossible to overtake at. They are still staying out for another lap. They do not believe that the slicks are the quickest car yet. What about the cars behind? Shark is also continuing on, so is Lennons. But Jesus is not. He is pulling into the pit lane. He's rejoined. Alpha Highball and Mahmudev joining in on that decision. And Mahmudev is going to try and go for the move on the Alpha Highball. Wow. Mahmudev in the braking zone on the pit lane, taking the risk, and he pulled it off, getting ahead of Alpha Highball. Now he needs to get the pit stop right to fully complete that move. As he goes on the hard, is that Alpha Highball going to be ahead of the RB? Yes, it is. It was a great move there by Mahmudev, but unfortunately it does not pay off as he immediately loses the position again in the pit stops. But DRS has been enabled, so that indicates that slicks are quicker. So the top 4 will be putting it to the pit lane. Jesus now in P4 or P5, and he's the first one out there on the slicks. Of course, he's on the hards. He will be struggling to get those up to temperature, especially on a track that is still a little bit slippery. And you can see that he's still losing time towards the top 4, but once those tires get up to temperature, he will be much quicker than the intermediate runners. Look how close Arbon is once again to the back of Kai, but still unable to find the move. Now on the exit, probably won't both want to the pit lane. No, Kai is staying out. Kai is staying out in the Mercedes. Arbon is not. He is pulling into the pit lane. This could be a crucial decision as the Red Bull is sideways into the braking zone. Shark and Lennons both into the pit lane as well. The McLaren is close to the Mercedes and it's the back of the Mercedes. But unfortunately, fortunately enough for both of them, no damage and no 10-second time penalty for speeding. But Kai is staying out in this race and not too sure why. He will be losing out. Arbon is going on to the hards. Shark and Lennons on the mediums. Jesus on the hards, Alpha Highball on the mediums, Mahmudev on the hards. So different strategies. It's only 11 laps to go though, so you should be able to take the end on the mediums, but you will be struggling massively towards the end of the race. Lennons now looking to have a go at Shark, and he's going to try and go around the outside in towards turn 2. The Mercedes drifts a little bit wide. There's contact on the exit and Lennons is sideways, trying to put the throttle down. And he's going to have to stay in P4 right now, just ahead of Jesus, still trying to warm up his tires on those hards. Shark, he is 6 seconds behind Arbon. Lennons is looking to have a go up the inside into the chicane. Not quite going to work out. The Mercedes goes deep. Lennons now potentially with the switchback. Not quite either, but look how close. Arbon is closing the gap towards Kai. I think it's a mistake from Kai to stay out that long. I don't know why he was staying out for another lap, because he is losing so much time towards Arbon, who is going to have clean track, and for sure Arbon is going to be overtaking the Mercedes with the undercut. Kai is shooting himself in the foot with staying out there. He knew that DRS was enabled, so why did he go for the gamble to try and stay out? Let's see where he comes out of the pit lane. Arbon goes down the start-finish straight. Kai is coming out of the pit lane, but it's going to be Arbon leading the race. And Kai has lost the position, and he is going to be around 2 seconds behind. 2.6 as we go in towards turn 1, and Arbon is our new race leader of this race with 10 laps to go. Lennons and Shark fight it out once again, but this time it looks like Lennons is going to get the position because Shark does not have the DRS. So Lennons now into a podium position in the McLaren. Jesus and Alpha Highball in P5 and 6. Alpha Highball stays where he was, stuck in this rain. Shark though gets a 3-second time penalty, which is going to cost him at the end of the race. And will likely drop him down to P7 unless one of these drivers picks up a penalty as well. Big moment there from Mahmudev through turn 8. Nine laps to go in this race, and Arbon leads by almost 3 seconds. towards Kai. Then it's Lennon's on those mediums, a further 5 seconds behind. And Shark, who is under pressure from Jesus, he does have the DRS. And will maintain his position in P5. Hello Jamie. My hero. You are my hero as well. Love you mate. As Balaboton and Dondech fight it out for P8. Aston Martin is up a position from last on the grid, but he's got a 3-second time penalty. So as long as the Red Bull stays within those 3 seconds, he will still finish in 8th position. This is a position that Arbon has not been in for a long while. In the lead, legit, out on track, and in a legit fight for a race win for the first time in what feels like eternity. His league has rebranded to Revolution this season. Of course, he's not won yet this season. For that, Season 8 was the first ever season of F1 Broke Boys. It is now Season 13. He did not win in F1 Broke Boys either. He has been winless for so long, but now finds himself in a position where he can dream for another victory. But he's got 7 laps to go after this, and he is still under pressure from Kai. Don't think he has to be worried about Lennon's on those mediums, because those tires will fall off in the final few laps. It's going to be a straight fight between Arbon and Kai for the lead of this race in the last 7 laps. Lennon's now with a 3-second time penalty, but he's got almost 3 seconds towards Shark, and Jesus Alpha Bottom would behind, so if he can stretch that gap further to the Mercedes and the Williams and the Alpine and the V-Car, he could still be on for a podium finish. Kai, 18.8, fastest lap of the race. He is in hot pursuit of the race leader. With its rain behind Shark, now 2.5 seconds. Jesus just unable to find enough of a good run out of the final corner to have a go. Still unable to find a way past the Mercedes. Alpha Wall still stuck there in P6. Definitely will not be champion tonight, but at the moment he will not even be on the podium, so it looks like he can only win from pole position. Not meant in a bad way, of course, as something has happened to Balaboton and he has gone around in turn 8, and the Aston Martin has dropped down to P10 again, having been in P7 or P8 for a brief moment. Not the race so far for the Aston Martin. Neither of them, in fact, are on down in P12. In between them is Jaden in the Ferrari, who now picks up a 3-second time penalty. Alpha Wall and Jesus are fighting it out for P5. And it's Alpha Wall trying to go a long way around the outside. Turns in early and contact between the Alpine and the Williams. As Balaboton is retired in the pit lane. They're still going wheel to wheel on the exit. Jesus and Alpha Wall. Jesus has been wheel to wheel through this corner early on in this race. Did not go well. This time it does go well as Alpha Wall races around the outside. What a brilliant move from our championship and showing exactly why he is the man to beat and why he is the one to take the crown probably next week at the Japanese Grand Prix. What a move from Alpha Wall, who is now with the P5. brilliant fight between these two. But looks like Jesus is not done yet in this fight. He is still close to the back of the Alpine. And it's going to try and go for the re-overtake because Alpine Wall, he's dropped out of DRS range towards Shark. Which is going to make it difficult for him to defend against the Williams down the start-finish straight. The gap at the front has reduced to 1.1 seconds as we enter the final 5 laps of this race. The battle for the lead is heating up as well. Here comes Jesus though to the inside in towards turn 1. And is there anything Alpine Wall can do to defend? Does not look like it. He's going to try and go for the switchback, but I think Jesus will still have to DRS, and he does. So Jesus is back in front of the Alpine, and Alpine Wall back in P6. Mahmoudov right behind these two, trying to find an opportunity to go for the move. Look how close, look how slow Alpine Wall is out of that corner, and Mahmoudov is going to try and go along around the outside of turn 4, but that is not going to work out. And once again Alpine Wall find himself wheel to wheel with the RB, and he is struggling right now on these mediums, struggling to stay close to Jesus as well. Might have to settle for P6 in this race. Kai, will he be within DRS range? I think he just missed out by a few hundreds or a few thousands. Yes, yes, as we go on to lap 32 of 35, 4 laps to go. Arbon leads, but Kai, he has closed that gap. And is getting near. Under 1 second and within striking distance. This fight is not over yet for the race win. Neither is the fight for P5. Jesus, Alpine Wall and Mahmoudov. Then Donlech full 10 seconds behind in P8 after his earlier spin. As Kai is getting really close to the back of the Red Bull. 0.4 of a second now as we enter the final sector. And now, for the first time, Kai has the DRS down the start-finish straight, going on to lap 33 of 35. 3 laps to go. He's closing. Is he close enough to go for the move? He's going to send one to the inside and towards turn 1, not quite. Decides to back off. Arbon later on the brakes and is able to maintain this position. But this fight is just starting now for these final 3 laps. And Kai is going to be looking for opportunities. He is going to have to be a little bit closer than that to have a real go at the Red Bull towards turn 1. Why did not get an invite? I'm genuinely sorry because I did not realize you left the session. Must have been at the same time as Jesus because I didn't get a notification of that. He is DNF now as well, or left the session again as well. I'll invite you back, but not very optimal right now with disconnects. This time both Williams drivers, so lap 25, yeah, I didn't notice, so I'm sorry for that. So we now enter start-finish straight again. It's 0.5 of a second. Kai is going to have another go. We're on to the penultimate lap of this race. And he is just not quite close enough. He's going to way later on the brakes, trying to go the long way around the outside in towards turn 1, but eventually runs out of road and has to settle for P2. A bit too optimistic on the brakes there. And he's back behind the Red Bull. But he has probably only got one shot left, one final chance in towards turn 1 on the final lap. Mahmoudov ahead with Alpine Wall, ahead of Jesus as well, of course. Jesus with another disconnect. It's very unlucky, and hopefully it's not going to happen again in these final races. I am hosting the lobby for the first time in a few races. So if it is my connection that is causing these disconnects, then truly I'm sorry, and we might have to switch back to Arbon being the lobby host from next week onwards. But let's switch our focus to these two on the final lap. 0.6 of a second. Don't think it's going to be close enough for Kai to wrap a real opportunity. He has been 4 or 5 of a second behind on the previous laps. This time 0.6. It's just a little bit too far behind, I think. But he's going to sample to the inside. Ricardo's in towards turn 1. There's contact between the two. Kai with a late send, a little bit too late. And he makes contact with our race leader. But he doesn't gain a position from it, and Arbon maintains that lead in this race. And was that the final opportunity for Kai to go for the lead and go for the win? And has this opened the door for Arbon to drive straight towards the finish and towards victory? More than 2 years ago, he won a race, and that was in Season 7. Then the league changed to F1 Broke Boys, where he was winless from Season 8 onwards. And now this season, in Season 13, it's changed to Revolution. And as the name suggests, this name seems to be revolutionary, because Arbon, he is gonna come around the final corner. And he is gonna be seeing that checkered flag for the first time in Season 7 first. Arbon is gonna win the Hungarian Grand Prix. And finally that curse comes to an end, as he is a winner again for the first time in 6 seasons. Arbon wins here in Tier 3, and is that just not the most wonderful thing you can see tonight? He deserved it more than anyone, especially in a time like this, where sometimes it feels like there's just nothing you can do right. But I'll tell you this, man, today you did absolutely nothing wrong, and you did absolutely everything right, as he finally becomes our race winner again. Wow. That's all I have to say. I didn't think I would be saying those words. But here I am, on a fateful day in September, and we see Arbon racing the biggest trophy. Exactly what he needs. Your race winner here in Hungary, Kai, has to settle for second place. Unfortunate with the disconnect. Could have costed him, but he made a strategic mistake as well. From the intermediates to the slicks, he settles for second place, and R5 World Championship leader, in the end, does finish on the podium somehow by a few hundredths of a second towards Jesus. And these are your full results. But it's gonna take a moment to let this sink in. What a day in Revolution, and what a moment to witness. What an incredible journey so far this season in Revolution. And round 12 truly becomes special. For the championship, Alpha World will extend his lead and has got one hand on the trophy, and probably will place the second one next week at Suzuka. To be honest with you, I cannot quite believe what has just happened tonight, and I'm very happy for Arbol himself. You very much deserve that one. And I truly hope you enjoy it in what has been a tense time over the past few weeks. Next week, we'll return at Suzuka for the final 3 races, and will that be the track where Alpha Hypol clinches his Drivers' World Championship? After that, we've got a mystery race with a sprint as well, and the season finale is at Zandvoort. Tomorrow, I will probably return for Tier 5, so be sure to check that out as well tomorrow night at 8 p.m. UK time. And of course, I will release the highlights somewhere in the afternoon tomorrow. But I hope you all enjoyed this race. I certainly did. And I will see you guys all very, very soon. So enjoy your evening and see you all next time.